All right, well, welcome everyone. As you come in, feel free to shout out where you're from and what you do in the chat so we know who we're speaking with. Thanks so much for being here on day 3 of Construction Inclusion Week. We're excited to get going things and educate you all on supplier diversity with Genesee Bell.
Good afternoon. Hi, everybody.
So let's blow up that chat with where you're from and what you do.
We're going to give everyone a minute or two to get in, and then we will get started.
All right, I see a brand new audience here. Thanks for getting it started, Mercedes and Puget Sound. Hey, Andrea, Tanya. All right. I hope everyone's having a fantastic Construction Inclusion Week. A little bit of good networking opportunities, good community building opportunities.
I think I just emailed you guys only. Let me just send it again. There you go.
Yay, Nicole is back coming to us from Vancouver, Canada. Thanks for being here, Nicole. And thanks for reaching out to us.
Give it one more minute.
Hi, Georgiana.
Hi, Georgiana. Thanks for joining us.
We've got coast-to-coast speakers all this week, so exciting to see our huge industry become one on a tiny screen.
All right, we'll go ahead and get started, and I'm sure more people will join as we're getting going. But I wanted to just say welcome to day 3 of Construction Inclusion Week. The NAWIC National DEI Committee is putting on webinars every day this week. So if you've missed the last 2 days, we do have recordings available. And you are welcome to reach out to us and we can get those, and they should be posted online as well. Today we are in day 3 and we are supplier diversity. Lisa will go ahead and get the session introduced and everything, but I wanted to just kind of bring a few things to your attention. We do have webinars tomorrow and Friday as well at the same time, so 11 a.m. PST. And so if you want to join us for the rest of the week, please do so. Those links should be up on National's website as well as their social media. Additionally, our committee is excited to really get things going this year. And we have a lot of big goals and a lot of things going on. So if you're interested in joining the committee or learning more about the committee, we have bi-monthly meetings. Our next meeting is November 18th, and it is on the Nationals webinar page. So if you want the Zoom information, you can find it there. Additionally, if you want to find out more about our committee or have any questions, I'm going to put our email address in the chat. And then we also have a committee form. So if you're interested in joining us or learning more about a specific pillar, Lisa is our education pillar lead. We also have a communication pillar and a community pillar. If you're interested in learning more about those or joining any of those committees, those meetings will be monthly. You can fill out the form and one of our committee leads will reach out to you. So with that, I will hand it off to Lisa.
Okay, thank you so much, Mercedes. Hello, everyone. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce you to Genesee Bell. She is started her career as an architect, focusing on shaping her designs with forward thinking and demonstrating the importance of architecture as a means of expression of human psychology. Genesee moved to North America from Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, and she found herself starting her career as an architectural designer. She was determined to progress in the construction field and sought to take on more important roles and projects over time. Now she has been a construction project manager, architect, interior designer in the AEC space. Bell has extensive expertise in both public and private sectors, including luxury multi-million-dollar residential projects, educational projects, and nonprofit organizations. Pardon me. She currently focuses on construction projects of public interest. Just pardon me. Significant social impact and disaster recovery. Belle is a working mother, and as a woman in construction, she is too familiar with the gender gap and the challenges of working in a male-dominated industry. She credits her perseverance, dedication, and patience for her success to her strength and mind. While her future goal is to advance legislation to build a better environment for all work in construction, regardless of gender, race, or background, she has been the president of NAWIC New York for 2 years, and in doing so is continuing to amplify women in the industry through NAWIC. Genesee, please take it away.
Sorry. I forgot the unmute button. Thank you, Lisa. That's a great introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. As Lisa was saying, I am currently the president of the NAWIC Greater New York Chapter 240. And I'm thrilled to welcome you all to day 3 of Inclusion Week, Construction Inclusion Week. And thank you so much for joining us. I'm also the DEI Northeast Chair and also National DEI member. So in today's session, we're going to be talking about supplier diversity. And I want to give you all our listeners in here a start with a basics of the supplier diversity, right? So supplier diversity is an essential initiative focused on sourcing goods and services from a diverse range of suppliers, particularly those owned by underrepresented groups like the women, minorities, veterans, and the LGBTQ plus individuals. This approach promotes inclusivity, boosts competition, and drives innovation, and also supports the economic empowerment of diverse community. So supplier diversity means actively choosing to procure from these groups. It creates a stronger and more inclusive supply chain. Diverse suppliers is typically defined as a business that is at least 51% majority owned by individuals from these backgrounds. And so, beyond the social justice, diverse procurement practices are also profitable, right? So they enhance the competitions, as I mentioned before. It helps reduces costs and improve the quality. Small, diverse businesses often bring the innovation, and that's what we are seeing nowadays, under these programs, and it brings fresh perspectives. So what we're seeing also is that it have led to an increase of 133% return on procurement investment from companies that engage them, which this is a great number, right? So let me give you a little bit of the history, how do we came about the supplier diversity program. So the seeds of the supplier diversity in the US were actually planted during the civil rights movement in 1960s. So it was during the Executive Order 11246 that compelled federal government entities to incorporate affirmative actions into buying decisions, right? So it was in response to social, political, economic realities of that time. So there were 3 major companies at that time that were basically the beginners. So General Motors, AT&T, and also IBM created the first supplier diversity program in the country, which, that was some progressive company at the time. So with that said, going into today story, so some of the companies that there's are now, and this is going global, right? So have made a very long point to take an inclusive approach to procurement. So in the recent years, and actually more since the pandemic, as all of you that are here today, if you're seeing what's going on out there, right, especially with Lloyd Floyd. So after all of that, the commercial and social benefit of becoming more inclusive, and especially during the procurement, it became more clear, right? Supplier diversity programs went mainstream. So in fact, I think Hackett Groups, Hackett Groups in 2021, they did a story. They did a 2021 supplier diversity story, if I believe that's what it's called, of around 100 large companies. And they found during this study, this survey, that 92% of this company actually allocated fund towards a supplier diversity program. So what made it more impressive is that these companies actually are planning or were planning dramatically to expand their supplier diversity program in response to the global calls for social reform and racial equality. So to the point now where the U.S. government is also stepping up the efforts by expanding the mandate of the Minority Business Development Agency to basically work directly with diverse suppliers, and now making the agency permanent through the Minority Business Development Act of 2021, and again, in response to the global situation that was happening at the time. So when we talk about the real value of supplier diversity, is basically making the pie bigger, right? So the only way to do that is when we work in the community with each other. So in my view, what we are lacking is the fabric in our society. And I'll explain a little bit more as we go on. So what it means to become a diverse supplier. Public agencies, as I mentioned before, have better, companies nowadays, and it's bearing it to confirm its genuine commitment to diversity. Because as as you've seen, you probably have read, everybody now wants to be part of the diversity program. And so most company or some company actually do not have the certification or do not have the managers of the background necessary to maintain these initiatives, right? So with the public agency betting this, right, it is allowing to this company to register, and it's opening new avenues for growth, right? So it fosters a sense of community, collaboration, camaraderie, enable businesses to celebrate their heritage and share their unique stories. And so funny, because yesterday I actually did another webinar discussing about the Hispanic Heritage Month and their uniqueness, right? So it goes beyond the one racial. It's everything. So one of the things is helping to close the knowledge gap on this organization and your organizations, right? So it is crucial for the success of the supplier diversity program. So it starts with a strong executive support in addressing concerning data around accountability. So many companies actually, as I was saying before, it lacks clear diversity goals. And as a result, it failed to hold the supplier diversity. I will say it in my opinion, because that's what I'm seeing a lot. It does fail in holding supplier diversity managers accountable. So, and even what's more troubling is actually that some of these managers might not have the necessary background, as I was saying, or as a company as a whole does not have the training to effectively lead this initiative. So in order for the supplier diversity program to work, we really need to drive real change, right? So these organizations, or most of our organizations, we need to prioritize training, and we need to develop, as you know, help to develop the supplier diversity managers for this program to work. That's why you're seeing now, especially with the DI um, program and concept, right? So there's a lot of companies actually backing out of those initiatives. And while some supplier diversity companies still in, some of them are not seeing the return, right? They're not seeing the value. And therefore, as you know, also resulting in having to pull out their team, that team of supplier diversity managers. So what we need to do is really to basically ensure that the executives, because it has to go all the way to the top, so that the executives are actually actively involved in promoting that accountability, right? So this will not only strengthen the supplier diversity program, but it will also create a more inclusive and equitably environment for all the stakeholders, everybody included. So why do I think that your business needs the supplier diversity? So across the board, and we're seeing more and more, the organizations are actually becoming more intentionally about their diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. And one of the most impactful area to increase diversity might be within the multi-billion-dollar supply chain. So the initiative to increase the supplier diversity can deliver significant value. So it's not just by countering the years of discrimination and creating a economic opportunity, but it's also boosting the buying company-owned business performance, right? So when I'm saying this is, you know, is helping to recognize the impact that these diverse suppliers can have. Many companies actually have developed supplier diversity programs within themselves to make their procurement strategies more inclusive, actually. And they are coming with you know, more and more of a standardized. But what I have seen, in my opinion, what has been challenging is what are the standards, right? So I think that we all need to share our successes and failures. We need to share the systematic issues. It only if we do that is going to create collaboration. So we need to focus on the jobs and then the economic impact supplier diversity brings to the communities. So let's talk about the need to accelerate the payments for these diverse suppliers. Like I was saying, I actually talk about this all the time. One of the things I see for these medium, small and medium businesses is that, and I think that this is goes for if there's anyone in here, you know, government that is, you know, listening to, um, taking the 60, 90, and even the 120 days to pay them, to me, it feels disingenuous. And the reason why I'm saying this is because, you know, we really need to improve these practices because these small and medium businesses are the lifeblood of our communities, right? So when they receive their payment faster, they can actually pay their suppliers sooner. And with this, it creates a positive effect, you know, threefold effect. So I think that we do still have to continue to work on getting this program to have a better standards. You know, it is all about uplifting the small and the diverse owned businesses, right? So this is kind of like what the supplier diversity mentorship program is all about. It's to help with the larger corporations, right? They need to make meaningful investments in this company. So a program that connects diverse businesses leaders with a large company executives, which that's something that I talk and discuss a lot with my diverse supplier diversity group and, you know, friends and team, is it just only help to equip them with the insights and the resources that they need to succeed as a global supply chain. And one of the things that I actually, you know, want you guys to take as a takeaways is be aware of the biases and the blind spots in the supplier diversity. It can significantly impact an organization's ability to fully engage diverse suppliers. So what we really need, and what I also recommend a lot to a lot of these companies that I talk to, I will say it on the daily basis, is which to me is what's all about is about the data, right? So we need a diversity spend impact tracker. This tool actually leverages businesses' intelligence to monitor contributions from each business's unit and the department. So what in the happening is that it align with the company's overall impact goals, right? And if the company actually have a goal, and again, I'm gonna explain this a little bit more down the line when we get to the to talk about the goals for each company. So let's dive in now a little bit into the economic impact analysis. So the economic impact analysis in the supplier diversity is all about understanding the broader benefits that come from working with diverse suppliers, right? It's not just about checking boxes. It's about assessing the real outcomes like job creation, revenue growth for these businesses, and the positive ripple effects on the local and the regional economies, which is tangible, is data driven, right? So when organizations measure these impacts, they can showcase the true value of their supplier diversity initiatives. And it's, going back to the session I was saying before. So it comes back from all the way from the executive level to having a goal, to have a really standard, to have a really concise program, because it is a powerful way to advocate for continued investments in the diverse suppliers. It highlights the meaningful change that bring to our community. And this isn't just good for business. It's not just good businesses. It's about making a difference that everybody can actually feel. It is a benchmark, and it's identified opportunities to get better as a whole, as a community, as a large corporation, as an individual. So many supplier diversity managers, what I see and I hear, and I have a lot of those around me, we talk about this, we attend the conferences, and we can see shoulder to shoulders with peers and sometimes even competitors. So what I've seen is that at this event, and this event, believe me, they are a great opportunity to connect. But what's interesting is to know that they often don't share insights with one another. And if you're here and you are one of them, and you know what I'm talking about. So instead, they feel more like isolated efforts. Each one of us navigating these challenges of the supply diversity independently. And I've seen this a lot. A lot of them, even go back and, well, this is one of the reasons why the Tempton managers don't really feel very much connected to the supplier diversity program. So I believe that fostering a culture of openness and collaboration at these gatherings, or just as we're friends, let's meet up just to talk about how we can actually take insights from each other's, what are the deficiencies that we see, what are the negative things that we're seeing out there, how can we actually work together to make this program better, right? To strengthen this program, to enhance the impact of this initiative as a community and as a whole. So supplier diversity is not just a corporate responsibility, it's a responsibility anymore. It is actually a powerful catalyst for economic growth and development at country level. So by intentionally fostering diversity in their supply chain, businesses actually contribute to a broader socioeconomic outcomes, including, like I was saying earlier, we're going back to the job creation, the wealth distribution, and increased development, right? And we see that with our local businesses. So promoting local development and sustainability, especially when paired with local sourcing, it does truly transform communities. When diverse suppliers invest in their neighborhoods, whether by opening new facilities or hiring local talent, buying from those mom and pop shop, right? Those are the people who actually breathe life into the area and spark the growth of that community. So plus many of the suppliers are dedicated to sustainable practices, and that's something that is been happening, right? We're the entire global, all the countries around the global is actually becoming more sustainable day by day. So when we actually help these small mom and pop shop or just a local, so we made sure that these businesses are just not economically savvy, but we also help to be environmentally friendly, right? So it's an exciting way to build vibrant communities while promoting a stronger, more sustainable economy for everyone involved. So at the end, it's a win-win for everybody. So this is why I think the supplier diversity does work. And I think it's here to stay. In matter of fact, the data has actually started saying that by 2045, we are going to be all minority. That there's going to be everybody's going to be a minority, right? So diverse suppliers often from a small to medium-sized enterprises, right? So they like I was saying before, they're powerful job creators. So by us supporting these businesses, supplier diversity needs to help create valuable employment opportunities. And we see this, we see that every day. Every time that we actually employ or we collaborate or hire one of those diverse supplier, this diverse supplier actually go out and find um, people to work for them. So it does create opportunity of employment. Look at it that way, especially for the disadvantaged community, as I mentioned it before. So the economic activity generated by these suppliers, whether it's purchasing raw materials or investing in a new equipment, goes back to creating a ripple effect that boosts the entire local economy. So this is not only strengthening the community, but it's also foster a vibrant, like I said before, ecosystem where everyone can thrive. So, and a study by the National Minority Supplier Development Council found that certified minority-owned generated businesses actually generated more than $400 billion in economic output. And this was just only in 2018, right? So it contributed to the creation and the preservation of more than 2.2 million jobs. And I think that was according to American Express in 2019. I think they did a report, I believe it called the State of Women-Owned Businesses report. So what they highlighted was that the women-owned businesses in the United States actually generated $1.8 trillion in revenue and employ more over 9.4 million people. And so as you can see, it's a program that is working. It's a program that is really doing what it needs to be doing. We just need to tighten it a little bit. We need to start going back and look at what works and what doesn't work. The U.S. The U.S. Small Business Administrator reported in 2020 that 2.52 million veteran-owned businesses in the United States contributed also another 1.14 trillion to the economy, and that was just about increasing it by the 9.1, I believe, of businesses in the United States. So as I was saying before, in 2019, prior to the COVID pandemic, right, there were approximately 2.6 million Black-owned businesses in the U.S. alone. So, and again, and according to the Small Businesses Administration, I think that they increased it. The Black business owner increases by 3.5 billion and they employ 1.2 million people, increasing this to like 7% of people employed by Black entrepreneurs. So we are making progress. We're definitely making progress, and I really would like to see this program succeed. So in order to create an effective supplier diversity program, what's important to me, that's how I see it, is to set clear goals and objectives, right? Without the goal and objectives, you are not going to have a perfect program that will work for your organization or what you're intending to do. And going back basically to you company just being a checkbox, yes, we support the program, but in fact, you don't have any data that actually sustains what you're saying. So assess the current state of your organization goals. You got to evaluate your current supply base, the diversities level. You got to identify the gaps and the in areas for improvement. You have to, like I say, one more time, define clear objectives. I like to actually utilize the SMART practice, SMART all in cap, SMART. What this stands is for set a specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound objectives. So you gotta create, examples where you increase the percentage of spending with the diverse suppliers by a certain percentage every year. So within every year, you gotta set your goals, you gotta meet your goal, and you gotta continue to increase it and work. Important topic to me, engage huge stakeholders. Involving your key stakeholders, including the procurement teams, your executives, and the community leaders in the goal setting process is really detrimental. To me, it's like one of the most important steps in actually making sure that your program is successful and your program actually works. You got to gather input and the buy-in to ensure the alignment and commitment with the stakeholders, with your procurement team. But as I was saying earlier, the secretaries really play a big role on setting these processes. So prioritize diverse categories. So you got to focus on specific groups that align with your organization's values, such as either women-owned, the minority-owned, veteran-owned, or the LGBTQ plus businesses. So in order for your program to be successful, you have to prioritize the diverse. You have to understand what your organization do. What are your core values? What actually this program is going to be doing for your organization, and which of these categories is actually going to make more sense for you, right? Rather than dividing the pie, as I was saying, I just trickle here, trickle that. It's not going to get you anywhere. Prioritize is one of the best advice that I actually can, have you take away today. So consider local sourcing to enhance your community impact. Establish the metrics for success. As I was saying, data. Develop a key performance indicators, your KPIs, to track your progress. If you do not track your progress, either on a quarterly basis or even more often as you need to, such the number of these diverse suppliers on board or the total spent with these suppliers, if you don't do it regularly and you don't do a review and you don't do the adjustment to these metrics as needed, you are not going to be seeing the success. You are not going to be seeing the fruit of your programs and your managers and your secretaries and your team. You're not going to see it because there's no data. So how can you know if your goals and your plan are actually working if you do not keep those metrics, right? Create an action plan. You have to evaluate, you have to create your action plan, you have to outline each steps that you need to achieve your objectives, right? Including your outreach strategies, because it's very important, and your training programs, your partnership opportunity. All of this are really hard for everybody who is actually in the supply manager's positions, right? Because you don't always know to outreach. You go to those events, but you have not learned how to outreach to those partnerships opportunities that you need to get in order for this program to be successful. So create an action plan, understands all of this that I just mentioned before, and then assign the responsibilities so you can ensure the accountability, as I was mentioning before, the accountability for each of the managers, because it plays a pivotal role on this program and in your organization, right? So going back to monitor and evaluate, continuously monitoring the progress towards your goal, continuously evaluate the effectiveness of your strategies and make the adjustments necessary based on the data that you are putting together, right? Based on the feedback of your stakeholders, your suppliers. So data tracking is really crucial. To me, is one of the biggest points that I actually trying to make sure that is on my action plan. That's the first thing I do all the time. It is crucial for driving the success in your supplier diversity program. I can't strain that enough. It will allow you to measure the progress, to identify the trends, to make informed decisions that will help you enhance your initiative. So when you analyze this data, you can actually better understand the impact of your efforts and the impact of the efforts of your team, your managers, and your company as a whole, right? And so it will help you to adjust those strategies as needed to achieve the goal. And finally, one of the last things I was saying in those topics before we move to the next topic with the goals is celebrate the success. Whether it's a big or small achievement, celebrate them, recognize them, and celebrate them with your team, with your company, invite your suppliers, share the success stories to inspire the continuing commitment to this program. Share it with us. Come to events like this one. Go to, attend panel discussion. Or as I was saying before, when you're sitting at one of those events, shoulder to shoulder with another, either competitor or another, supplier manager, it's help, friend of yours, share those. I don't see that enough. I don't hear those enough. People don't talk about it enough. And so to me, is a beautiful thing to do. I think in order to continue helping the country and all the global suppliers diversity programs out there, the commitment is by us sharing the information, sharing the insight, sharing the negative part, sharing the success, is sharing. So setting the thoughtful goals and objectives, you can drive a meaningful change through your supplier diversity program. It's gonna help, it's gonna benefit both your organization and the communities that you serve. So believe me, that is like, that's a data-driven one. So overall, the supplier diversity programs not only create opportunity for individual businesses, but it also contribute to a more equitable and vibrant economy. So if you would like to discuss specific examples or to dive deeper into any of these points at some point in time, follow me on LinkedIn, send me a note. I'd love to chat with you. I'd love to, hear and learn from what you're doing, what your companies are doing too. Just so I can, maybe integrate that into what I'm doing. So I have some takeaways for our listeners in here. So take with you. I'm gonna just label some that I can remember. So learn about the biases and the blind spots. Very important. Find the right supplier comes with a sense of challenges. Learn about these challenges. Learn about your suppliers. Many businesses do not have the resources or the network to find the suppliers, as I was saying before. So put that into your setting goals so you can learn how to find those resources. Help us to break the barrier of diversity within the diversity. And by that, what I mean is we don't see enough Black or Hispanics getting the work out there. We continue to see the same large corporations getting those magnet, jobs out there. So we, all of us, by sharing, by talking, by discussing, we will help break the barriers of diversity within the diversity. So we need to enforce a supplier diversity program because it's just not, it's not only to get a job or to get a project. So we need to push it. We need to enforce it, not just when you need it, but just to stay here. As I was saying, by 2045, the data is indicating that everybody's going to be a minority, right? So I'm hoping that with enforcing the diversity program, not just when it's needed, not just when the pandemic happened, not just when a global or social injustice happened. It's when it's out there, it's all the time. So help us. All of us have responsibility in making this to move to the right development program, right? So get certified. I've seen this a lot. Sometimes you can be a diverse owned business in any of the categories that I mentioned before, but not necessarily a certified diverse owned business. Most companies want that certification. When I mean most companies, like if my company, we are looking for a supplier, in order for us to actually report that externally, either to our stakeholder or anyone at the C-suite reporting level, they need that certification. They just not, they cannot just say, okay, yes, I have a diverse owned business. It's a, minority, it's a supplier. I can have it, I can use them. They need that. They need that because it's also form part of the data-driven information that I've been mentioning throughout. A company that self-reported a status but cannot be verified is a bad look to any company. So please get certified. How can we reward success in the industry? So while we often recognize companies that spend heavily, there are many smaller companies excelling in working with diverse suppliers and investing in inclusive programs. I'm actually one of those companies that I try my absolutely best to employ these suppliers, to get to these resources. So I attend a lot of events where I actually get to meet them and I sit next to them and to listen to what they do, how they actually started their businesses. Their stories are so compelling. I do everything within my power to have my company hire suppliers and minorities and these diverse groups. So these businesses are doing incredibly work to bring capital to diverse suppliers despite the challenges they face. Like I was saying before, with some of them with the 60, 90, and 120 days to get paid, right? So these are some of the minor challenges that they face because some of them cannot pay their suppliers, some of them cannot pay the workers. So if we actually try to change that, to remediate, to make that suppliers payment to work a little bit more for them, is going to boost the diverse suppliers capital, which is going to go back to boosting the economy at the local level and therefore at the national level. So I want us to find ways to celebrate those who implement these practices, whether they are large corporations or small businesses, publicly traded companies, or diverse suppliers themselves. Like, let's highlight their efforts and encourage more organizations to adopt this beneficial practices. I think is really, it's really where everything it will be set, right? So let's just develop a realistic action plan to tie back to the corporate vision. The supplier diversity is a powerful catalyst for economic growth. It contributes to local development and sustainability. Beyond the economic impact, supplier diversity actually promotes social cohesion and a community empowerment. Um, Initiates initiatives, that directly contribute to closing the wealth gap. It's a very powerful way to promote the economic inclusion and in the growth for those underrepresented communities. So it's basically it's a matter of economic justice, is ensuring equal opportunities for everyone in the business world. So I really would like to see these changes happening at everybody's level. Sorry, just let me get some little water here. So at everybody's level. So as I say, training, transparency. I know that a lot of people, a lot of employees actually resist to this diversifying supply chains, mainly because due to comfort or existing suppliers or not changing their existing suppliers. Some of them are just, fear of change. So the resisting actually hinder in the implementation of the effective supplier diversity program. So if we address all these biases and the blind spot, and then changing that with intentionally effort, which including education, the data analysis, and the commitment to actually fostering an inclusive culture that values diverse suppliers. I think that we all by acknowledging that and overcoming these challenges, organizations can actually create a more equitable and effective supplier diversity initiative. So that's what, I feel that we're heading to. So again, assess all the opportunities that are out there. The government right now is really opening the doors to minority-owned businesses. The programs out there are immense. So, it's providing the access to contracts and to all the partnerships that otherwise in the past has been difficult. We have friends, we all know someone who runs in small businesses, right? And they were able to partner with a larger corporation through the supplier diversity program. So in finding this partnership, as I was saying, just not only boosting that company, that small company revenue, but it's also providing invaluable experience and it's helping with the credibility of these programs that, like, otherwise, as I'm saying, some companies don't accept that this is actually a powerful program to be in it and to be enrolled to it. I think that if you are a minority, or if you know that someone is minority, I think that, make it within your responsibility to encourage them to actually become certified, to become part of this massive movement. So that way, the supplier diversity initiative makes more sense to everybody, not just to them, but to the large corporation, to the leaders that are in this largest corporation, right? So gaining the insights, it will generate, it will help you with getting the best practices are there. I know that some actually believe that this is just an industry trend. But as I'm explaining in this webinar, I don't think so. I think it's actually, if you follow the data that is out there so far, I think it's working. I think is a great opportunity for everybody involved. So getting certifications, encouraging others to get certification is really where it's going to lead the economic growth to those community. I'm one that I'm seeing in my own neighborhood. I'm seeing how all of these small businesses are actually being, closing doors because they don't have that economic growth anymore. These largest organizations or corporations are taking, their resources away. So as a result, they're closing the doors, and that's really sad. And when that happening, what happened is that now you on community is going to be lacking of some of those necessities that you want, right? So now it's going to take you longer to actually obtain or get something. You're going to have to travel farther. You're going to have to either, using Amazon or those delivery companies, but that's not loyal. That's not loyal. So if we want to have this our communities to be driven and to continue to grow, we have to help them. And this program was designed for them and for the large organization, for all of them to come together, right? To work together. So in learning about all of this, that's how we actually going to help this program grow. That's how we're going to maintain the loyalty of this company and engage the supplier diversity to enhance the reputation and the consumers as one. So those are the goals that I think that you should be looking into it. I know that we had to go into Q&A session, I believe, right, Mercedes? And correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct.
So I think that's creating the visibility for this group of individuals and coming up together and support each other. I think that's where this is going to be, more powerful. This is going to be very driven. So I think that's Mercedes. Let me know, and if no, then I will try to get into some of the goals. I believe that's basically it.
There we go. Oh my goodness. Genesee, thank you so much for sharing your experience. I mean, as the vice president of Bravo Companies in New York, you bring a lot of experience in working with a variety of companies. One of the questions that I have is what does your company do? You mentioned going to outreach events and such like that. I mean, are there outreach events that your company hosts? Are there outreach events that the community is known for? How do you create those opportunities to get to exchange and interchange with some of the smaller businesses?
So I attend a lot of, New York City, especially, and the state too, but I'm at the local level, like they doing fantastic job in connecting suppliers and larger corporations. So there's a wave of events going on every day here in New York City, at a government level, for those suppliers to actually come and don't have to get certified, or actually just put them name into the basket so they can actually be picked during the RFP process. And so I attend, it's all of them. It's really it's all of them.
Anybody who has questions, feel free to use the Q&A box or the chat. Or just unmute yourself while we're together. It's a great opportunity. Genesee has 18 years of experience in the industry and in outreach to these diverse small business owners. Genesee, I'm curious, you mentioned the success stories. So can you share one of those opportunities where a small diverse owned business was able to connect with Bravo and truly add value to both their company, your project, and the community overall?
So just to clarify, I'm actually a construction manager, and I'm doing right now, building a new building for the Effective Fashion Institute of Technology building. So we connect with a lot of our small suppliers and small businesses, to basically help us with the overall job. So I think we have about, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's like 31% of our forcing here is actually a minority. And we continue to always look like, for those small companies to actually come and collaborate and work for us and help us build this building. And one of the reasons one that I actually have right now is trying to get a cleaning, post-construction cleaning, right? So this company is certified, it's a minority, it's a woman-owned, and so on and so forth. So while looking at my company, when we actually review proposals and and the RFPs and so on like that, when we put it out there for bids, some of the things that they look is at the value or the prices sometimes. And what I do is basically trying to help the decision makers to understand that not all the time it actually means money. It means what we actually going to employ for that one company, right? That small company. So it's by looking at the entire program presented to us, it's like how many people were they actually able to employ in order to get the work done that we need, right? So it's an overall. So I basically teach them to look at this so they can make the best informed decision to hire this minority, this company. That's my success story. So
Awesome. Thank you. We do have a question from an attendee. The question is from Georgiana. What do you think are the biggest hurdles for companies creating lasting programs? Are those hurdles basically resources, lack
so
of DEI information, or challenging a lack of manpower or interest to create genuine diversity?
So what I'm seeing, which is like part of what I mentioned before during the presentation, is that first of all, the lack of understanding what that executive, that manager should be doing, the roles, right?
Mm.
In order for them to implement these practices, right? So and it's as embarrassing as it sounds, I know a lot of people who actually in the DEI level who flat out, had told me on my face, I don't really care for the DEI, right? And these are people who are actually sitting in positions of DEI. So if you start like that, and your company are not aware of these actions, I mean, are not aware of how these individuals actually performing, going back to the data, um, these efforts are not going to go anywhere. So what I see the hurdles is the lack of information, is the lack of caring, if the lack of understanding the DEI as a whole, and not just as a checkbox, not just as is it something that we can only use it during a global impact of some sort, some a pandemic or social injustices, or of situations of that nature, right? So that is what I'm seeing. I think that I feel that the DEI, when in 2020, because like I said, DEI it's been here for a long time, right? The suppliers, the diversity has been here for a long time. But when we wanted to implement it, we waited to have some sort of justice, some sort of a public situation happen for us to actually think that it will make sense and to start enforcing the goals behind the DEI, right? So I think that that's where the hurdles is. I think a lot of companies actually need to believe in it, understand it, expand it, educate, training, and do the measures, right? The data. That this is the only time that you're actually going to be able to understand that it's actually working for your organization. You see it now, right? You see that a lot of corporations actually are taking the DI away from their corporation. They eliminating those teams. They eliminating, a lot of tech companies are no longer want to do anything with DI. So, and I believe because of the practices, right? I believe that we really need to encourage more organizations to adopt the beneficial part of it, and not just to have it as a checkbox. And I hope that, with that, I answer your question.
Extremely strong. Genesee, thank you so much. I really appreciate how you framed a lot of this conversation around data and providing our attendees with a measurable plan, that SMART plan to create a specific goal to outreach to specific groups and have some KPIs to further that kind of exploration and outreach, to be able to set up an action plan that's related to that corporate vision, and to assign responsibility on the outreach and the education of the different companies that outreach is geared towards, and also to track the data, because it truly is an important tool to advance small businesses, minority-owned businesses, and truly create a more inclusive, expansive construction environment. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure, being here with all of you today. And yeah, this was great. And I hope that everybody take, some of these takeaways with you and implement this in your organizations. So we can all start seeing much more of an advancement programs out there, because like I said, this program is here to stay. So I think it's responsibility of all of us to actually make sure that we understand it truly, and as a whole, and like digest it completely, so we can help these small businesses, and the collaboration between these largest organizations and the small businesses.
Terrific. Well said. Thank you again, Genesee, and thank you all for attending. We look forward to hearing more about how you're going to apply some of these strategies to your DBE plans. And also, I encourage you to join us tomorrow. We're going to be hearing from Chara Gannett from Southland, and how to create and structure your ERGs to be a company that is more inclusive of your employees and their backgrounds. So thank you so much. Have a blessed day, and share out your ideas on your Construction Inclusion Week on LinkedIn. Thank you so much. See you next time.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.